Hi, and welcome to Business Source, brought to you by Connecting Business, the show that gives you authentic conversations to help your business. There's no smoke and mirrors, just real people sharing their experiences. I'm your host, Lee Nightingale, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Ian Moyse, and we're going to be talking about digital disruption and have you changed? Ian is EMEA Sales Director at Isnatabox, inside sales, Salesforce, telephony, experience technology. He's also a man of many more things, on the leadership committee of the Tech UK Cloud, massive social influencer. I'm sure you've seen him out there in LinkedIn, and also sales trainer. So Ian, thanks for joining us today on Business Source.
Pleasure. Good morning, Lee, and hopefully we can give some insight to the audience this morning.
Absolutely, because that's really what this is aimed at. Really, how can we share what we're going through, what our clients are going through, prospects, etc. And us as individuals, what experiences are we having that we can share with everyone else, and hopefully give them something to either learn from or take away from it that can help improve what's going on with their business or within their own mind. There's so much going on right now. I'm sure we can chat on for many hours. There's so much to talk about these days, but perhaps you could just give us an insight into Isnatabox and yourself and how you help clients, first of all.
Sure. So I'll do it in quick summary. So I have been in sales leadership for a very long time, for many decades. Continue to learn today. So even though I've had a lot of experience, I think, and we may come on to that, you need to continue to adapt and learn. Isnatabox, we provide a cloud telephony solution for Salesforce first customers. And what does that mean? We enable them to transform the customer experience and the efficiency of their staff in engaging with customers using real customer data to personalize that customer engagement. So really, how do you use the phone in a modern way to make the conversation between customer and any member of your staff more informed, more productive, and quicker to resolution?
Wow. And imagine there's been a lot of interest in what you do, given the significant shift to home working, and people are no longer having that physical desk, even though it was an IP phone, no longer having that phone on the desk for sure. But I guess on the flip side, I'm trying to do my Columbo moment here. So if I'm hearing you right, if I'm not at my desk with my phone making those outbound calls, then it's likely that there's no one on the end of the phone when I'm making that call to somebody else's desk phone. What have you seen happening there?
Yeah, that's one of the, and I think I'd be interested in your opinion, but this is one of the things I noticed when COVID hit. Initially, there was that panic mode where I think customers absolutely understood what had happened, and if you couldn't get hold of a business that you were phoning or an individual, you got it, because we'd all had the same panic situation. Now we are a good 6 months in. I think customers are less tolerant. You expect to be able to phone a business, and that business has adjusted and found a way. You may indeed end up, most likely, and certainly in lockdown, speaking to an individual who is sat in a room of their house instead of a busy office. But as a customer, do you care? What you want to do is resolve your inquiry, your problem, by speaking to a human, hence you use the phone, and have them help you. You don't care physically where they are. If they help you, I'd rather have someone working from home who could really solve a problem that I'm trying to solve, a delivery's not happened, or whatever that may be, than someone in an office and I don't get the resolution. So it's not the location of the individual, it's the outcome of the call. And you're right, it's been a challenge for a lot of businesses because their legacy technology has not supported them well in doing that. The switchboard has been typically office-based, or the DDI has gone to the office, and yes, you can redirect a call and you can do some basic things, but that doesn't cope for what if I, as an individual at home, have taken a day off. Now, if I'm in the office, that's easy because it's catered for. What if I'm on lunch? What if I'm on school pickup duty? The world we live in has changed the dynamic of our daily lives. So how does the technology and the processes you have in place support your employee to best serve the customer in what is now a different business model? And that's the challenge people have faced. Not rerouting a call. We can all do that and redirect a call. It's not as simple as that. There's a lot of complexity around it for a business.
Yeah, fascinating points. You mentioned about, well, I'm at home, I'm supposed to be working, but clearly there's wider tolerance now to, yes, I'm at home, I'm more likely to get pulled into doing some of the stuff that I wouldn't be doing it had I been in the office, like taking the kids to school or picking them up, one of them sick, or going out to do the shopping at lunchtime and all that kind of stuff, so invariably people, whilst you might get through to their mobile, you might find her in the aisle of Tesco or any other branded supermarket that are out there. Others are clearly available, but then that's sort of point to point. When we talk about the sort of technology that we've got at our fingertips now, and we've got things like Zoom, the rapid rise of Zoom, Teams, GoToMeeting, all this kind of tech. What are you seeing there? Because we know we've got all these different bits of tech, but has the customer, how's that going down with clients?
Well, let me ask you, Lee, have you called any businesses, except where it's a pre-call as we've arranged here, where you've set up a meeting, etc.? Have you been in one of those packages and called a business? Most people aren't, right? What they're doing is if they're calling a business, they're probably using their phone. What they're using Zoom and these packages for is web calls often it's with colleagues, or such as this, where it's a pre-arranged meeting. And it's a great platform for that, and they all work wonderfully. And look how they've scaled during this period and shown the power of cloud tech, etc. But in terms of phoning a business, that's not what they were designed for, and they're certainly not being used at the business end for receiving calls. How do you? It's not easy with one of these packages to have a call routed in and then have an IVR. Press 1 for this, 2 for this, and route calls. They weren't designed as sort of contact center full systems.
Right. Yeah.
That's not
precisely. You've got
so
the likes of Skype where you could
Well,
buy credits and things like that. But I have to be honest. I've been using Skype, as I'm sure as most people have, for many years now, and I've never ever made a single phone call and I've never purchased a single credit with Skype. That's just personal preference. I guess that's because in the age of our mobile phones, we have unlimited calls on our packages. We just pick up the phone and speak to people. But you're right. I've not used GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, Zoom, any of those bits of tech to actually call a customer, because you've got you have to send an invite. That's the way these applications work, right? So you have to have already spoken to the person, got their email address in order to be able to send them a meeting invite, and embedded your meeting invite within your conference details inside that invite. Or else these platforms, you can share links and all that kind of stuff. But you're absolutely right. You have to have had that initial conversation. So you can't cold call using any of these technologies for sure.
And I think the big challenge it's given to a lot of people is, if you didn't already have the phone number, switch it the other way. That's customer experience service. If you're selling or trying to engage with prospective clients, how do you get hold of them now? Because previously, the cold call, we could spend ages debating and talking around that, but you'd call their business. You'd call their business number, which is a public number, and you would try and get hold of an individual. It's rare that you want to get hold of someone within a business that is relevant to your product or service. You already have their DDR or their mobile number. Well, where did you get that from? And there's some tools that provide that, I know, but in general, you would call their business. as a start point. Well, if you call their business today, you're not going to, how easy are you going to navigate the business? Because previously you might have got, well, can I get through to service or sales? You go through to department, you might ask a few questions of someone, and well, who would be responsible? And you'd myriad your way through the business. Today, if you get to one person, they're not going to transfer the call over there. Probably they're not equipped to transfer the call. You have ended up in a silo in someone's living room, and that's who you're going to get if you get transferred
It was
at
very
all.
disconnected,
Yeah.
disjointed, I guess, you get that age old, oh, I'll take a message, I'll email them, get them to call you back. Or if you do call that office number and there is someone there and the sort of past pillar to post, you've got the multiple gatekeeper scenario to get through. If it's that, you've got a internal phone system in your office which is designed to route calls round robin perhaps, and is that set up now to round robin to people sat at home on their sofa with a laptop and a headset?
And it's really hard to do that technically because, often what people said is, oh, it's easy. People have gone home, will redirect to their mobile. Okay, well, if you redirect to their mobile and they're not there, you can't do that round robin of a queue, because if you redirect it and say, well, let's ring 5 mobiles, one of them picks up because it's got no signal and goes to voicemail, it will grab the call from a queue. So there's little things that people haven't anticipated. And outbound calling, if it, think about this is now all departments. This isn't sales where we're used to our mobile number being known by customers and it being acceptable. You've now got every department at home. If you're finance people, would you have given them a business mobile phone before? Probably not. Now they're at home. How are they calling a prospective, or one of your customers to chase for money or to answer a query? If they're calling them, are you asking them to use their personal mobile?
That's been my concern. Yeah.
Now the customer's got that number. What happens when they call back, but that individual has taken 2 days off? What's the experience for the customer? There's lots of little things that really mount up very quickly to be, this doesn't work that easily. The tech's there, but tying it together is the hard part. And not doing that's one of the things we help customers with, right? So it's it's not as easy as people expected.
You're right. And I go back to your point around tolerance, right? So we all appreciated in those first few weeks and months, oh my goodness, this is just headless chicken. People did nothing, thinking that's fine. We'll be back in the office in 2, 3, 4 weeks or whatever. Oh, okay, it's going on a little bit longer, or I might start probably having to look at some contingency planning, because the contingency planning that they'd done previously probably only accounted for maybe half their staff not being able to make it into the office as worst case scenario, not, oh my goodness, nobody can come into the office. Now everybody's at home. And so as a consumer, we have a degree of empathy and sympathy and tolerance to businesses in those kind of scenarios. And I think we have, speaking from a personal level now, because I don't want to sort of tar everyone with the same brush here, but I'm more inclined to have significantly more tolerance even now to a small business, local company who aren't tech savvy. They just sell what they sell, helping the community. They're providing a good local service, product, whatever they may be. Their skills aren't tech, and I can't expect them to be savvy and all up to speed and automated and all the rest of it. So even still now, in fact, I would go so far as to say what I've done just this week is I'm a member of 2 local tennis clubs. One of them just has 1 court directly across the road from where we live. And over the last 6 months since we've joined, I've been over there 3 times. Once within 10 minutes, another group arrived, so we felt, well, we shouldn't probably play very long. And then second time, people were already there, they just started. Third time, people already there, they'd only just started, so had to walk away. And there was no online booking system, so my experience there was not great. And my wife and I got a little bit frustrated, and then I was like, hang on a minute here, this is grassroots, pardon the pun, concrete court level tennis, where it's just a load of local people trying to have a knock around, play some tennis. So I've reached out to them and I've found them a free online booking platform, demonstrated it to the secretary yesterday, and they're going to implement it.
But Lee, how tolerant are you to the larger corporate brand today? That's more the question, because I've seen a lot of backlash on social media. I won't name any, but against many large brands with customers saying, I've been trying to fix this, and 2 months later, I still can't get help, and I've still got the problem. You know, I needed a locksmith during lockdown. They came really quickly. It was fantastic. Your life still goes on, right? It's different, but you still need things. Your boiler will break, or you'll still need to contact people. Things still happen.
Yeah,
How have you found the larger firms?
the larger firms, I would say now, I mean, what were we? So we are 7 months into this. We're bordering on 8 months, I suppose. I probably have little to no tolerance, primarily because these are companies with hundreds of millions, possibly billions, in the bank, with hundreds and thousands of staff, with people who get paid a lot of money to ensure that their service doesn't get disrupted. And I don't think it's acceptable for them to have not contingency planned, a little bit like the government, really, to have not had a plan for this, where they can go, we're in this situation, let's pull these options out there that we've got on there in our library of options of knowing how to solve a problem. Where was it? It was non-existent.
Well, for me, the first there's been waves, right? The first wave was shock, panic that we all went through. What no one ever expected this to happen. Who would have had this forethought? And we had tolerance. And I think a lot of businesses at that point thought, this is a short-term blip. We will put, and everyone rushed to put tactical solutions. You described the growth of Zoom and Google Hangouts and Microsoft Teams, etc. And we've all seen the massive, quickly put something in place so people can talk and get going. I think what they didn't do then is anticipate and at phase 2 then go, right, now what do we need to do to get a robust solution in place, not a tactical fix, a proper strategic fix in place? Because I think they, you know, thought, well, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel now, so that will sort of see us through. We can get away with this, and then it will all go away. Now we're in phase 3, I think, where realization is this is going to be a longer road than we all thought. The tactical fix ain't going to wear it, and we've seen that. We've seen many companies coming to us, you know, with very short timescales of, actually, we now need to change something. We thought we could make do, but it's going on too long, and now we're looking forward. We're being more pragmatic of, oh, this isn't going to be out of the way. How long is this UK lockdown we've just seen in place, right? It's up, starting at a month, but is it? So no one knows. So I think now we've seen people have come into that realization stage where they're going to do stuff about this. But I've seen, it's interesting seeing how people, I don't know about you, but are you getting, I'm getting inundated with people now. It's like the old days where you were spam with selling messages. They're not just on email now, they're on LinkedIn. And yes, it's been happening, but it's gone through the roof, and particularly around lead gen, marketing, all that stuff of, we can help you during this because you'll need more of this, and we're here. But their approach doesn't demonstrate a good practice in their behavior. I don't know if you're getting it. Hopefully it's not just me they're targeting.
Well, you know, the things that really switch me off to being sold to, and I'm perfectly happy to be sold to, primarily because I am a seller and therefore I'm respectful and understand that people are there to do a job. But it's your approach, and I'll use two different analogies. One is, or not, two actual real scenarios actually. One is the recruiters that contact me who have the perfect role for me, according to them. And I look down and, you know, the email says, I've looked at your CV online, and we've got this phenomenal sales director role in Birmingham. And it kind of knocks me sideways. I'm kind of thinking, well, there's absolutely zero part of my CV that says I've ever been a sales director. And secondly, I've lived in London since 2004.
Yeah.
So the concept that you've got the perfect role for me is laughable. But what's more infuriating, and this leads on to the second thing, which is the connection, LinkedIn and approaches from there, is that you just get carpet bombed from recruiters. I don't want to tar all the connections with being recruiter-esque, but it's similar across many other industries where you just get carpet bomb contacted, where they've actually taken no time whatsoever to look at you as an individual or the business you're in. Even like 5 minutes, Ian, of looking at your profile and looking at your company website should give you either, no, I'm not even going to waste my time contacting this person because it's not going to fit, or, oh yeah, I like that. And if you just put one sentence in your connection request, something that indicates to me, actually, they've not, they've taken the time to look at me and or the business. So that really infuriates me, where people have taken zero time whatsoever, because they've basically wasted their own time.
Yeah, well, what they've done is activity, right? It's not productivity, it's activity.
Yes.
Look at me, I've sent out 50,000 messages this week. Tick, what an achievement. Okay, how many engagements and discussions did you have? Zero. Would you rather send out 100 messages and get 10 discussions? It's the outcome you want, not the activity. The activity does not always have direct correlation with the outcome. It's the right activity. And I get it, people trying to sell us CRM systems when our whole business is related around Salesforce. We run the whole business on it. I get people trying to sell me social selling training when the fact you've just outreached, to your point, and not done your research to see that I train people on social selling and profess it and whatever, that I'm not your candidate, and you haven't done the first step of social selling, and you failed that. So even if I wanted it, you're not good at it because you just showed me you don't know how to do it. That's most ironic.
Found me on social.
Yeah, exactly. But to your point, I call that being Sherlock, right? It's the real thing, and I've spoken about this. We could spend 20 minutes on this, but we won't. Is look, don't be Lestrade, right? In Sherlock Holmes' story, Lestrade would take a look at something and conclude the decision. So Sherlock will have access to the same information, the same scene, the same profile on LinkedIn, for example, and find 5 things that Lestrade didn't, but they were there. And that's the trick of using these platforms for selling and social selling. The first step is, to be Sherlock, is to find those hidden gems of information that enable you to engage. And they may not enable you to engage directly with a quick fix. People want this quick fix, and I get it. There's a strain on today with COVID. For many, it's got even more difficult, and there's pressures on. But there isn't a sudden shortcut in sales because of COVID. You can't reach someone and go, due to COVID, would you speak to me when you wouldn't normally? It doesn't give you any different shortcut.
No, you're right, yeah.
And just reaching to them with, I really want to talk to you. Well, so do 50,000 other people. So we blank them all, right? We're not being rude, but you have to, because otherwise you'd spend every day being nice to people and phoning everyone back and having conversations about speculative stuff, of which the majority would not go anywhere. Therefore, you wouldn't get anything done. Therefore, you blank them all.
It's interesting you say that, because you taking my own business as an example, and we've recently in the last 6 months done more activity on LinkedIn, and I've tried various different approaches, and I wanted to practice what I preach and indeed what we've just been talking about there. And so I took a much more slow and methodical approach to looking at everybody's profile, website, finding something that had gone off with their business, finding something that they'd written, something that gave me something to talk to them about, or reference that I'd done that research. And Do you know what the response I had was?
Go on.
Zero. I mean,
Be-
zero.
yeah,
Compared that,
because
but
it's
this is
still.
compared to we later did a much abbreviated one paragraph short connection request, but had one sentence in there.
Mhm.
And that had a profoundly more positive impact in terms of responses. So the notion of doing a longer winded 3 or 4 paragraph, I've done some real investigation into you, here's why I really want to talk to you, here's what my business does, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
got no results, rather than a, hey, really like to connect with you, like what you're doing, seen this about you, here's a link to our podcast, be great to catch up with you. That has had a significantly more positive response.
But the
So
clue
interested
there
to get
is
your thoughts on there.
what you don't then do, because I get this, I get people who've done the first smart piece and they say, Ian, we saw you on the top 50 sales speakers list or whatever, well done, or something that's personal, relevant, and oh, okay, and I'd love to follow your content. That's authentic. Okay,
Yeah,
why wouldn't we? Great. But the next second, they go, great, I've got your connection. Now you've given permission to sell to you. They've just failed it. So what you did is you came up to me at an event in the old world, right? Real world,
yeah,
the real world analogy of this is you came up to an event and you said morning at the coffee thing. You said morning. You for the yeah. Oh my gosh, the traffic out there bad. What's your interest today? You made chit chat, right? You did that rapport thing to try and get connection. And the minute I said hello, I went, yeah, good morning. Yeah, I'm here for this. It's looking good, isn't it? You immediately went, so anyway, Ian, I'd like to sell to you. Bang. Why do you think electronically it's going to work when it wouldn't? You would never do that in the real world, right? You wouldn't. But people behave different electronically, because if you did that in real world, it'd feel odd and uncomfortable. And what? But you don't have to face people. It's faceless. Therefore, it doesn't work, right? You've done the first bit. You're now trying to take a shortcut again. The shortcuts, invariably, there'll always be exceptions, but invariably do not work, because we're human beings and it doesn't work that way. You don't go from a little bit of rapport, minuscule rapport, to I have permission now to sell to you, lots of rapport, relationship. It doesn't skip that beat, right? You've got to nurture to get to it. That takes time, and you don't want to do that because you don't have time, because you want an order now. And that's the problem. There's a contra behavior going on that drives the wrong behavior, but you don't get the outcomes you want from doing that.
Now, I'm going to ask a controversial question.
Sure.
If you'd prefer not to answer it, don't. Do you think that's a generational thing? Do you think it's a generation of individuals that I'm going to say are younger than ourselves? We're not certainly by no means over the hill, but there's a significant proportion of those in work that are considerably younger than ourselves who live life behind a screen. So do you think that's as a result of that? What are you seeing there?
Potentially some of that. Potentially it's also, I judge a lot of awards where I get the pleasure and the opportunity to engage with a lot of salespeople from different industries, because you get sectored, right? So I'm in the tech sector, the high tech sector and cloud, but in those I get to engage with lots of people in different sectors. And this whole thing of social selling, social platforms, it's harder to get hold of people, etc. People are misusing technology, right? Technology has its place, but social selling is not selling over social. It's just a nice name for it. What it is how do I use social media to invoke an engagement that ends up in a conversation? Right. It ends to a means, and it is a methodology, not a platform. Everyone reverts to its LinkedIn. Social saying, oh yeah, I've been trained on LinkedIn Navigator. Great, that's a product. That's not a behavior. That's not a methodology. If I check an individual out, obviously you'll start in B2B. I'm going to check them on LinkedIn, but you know what? I'll look. Have they got any other connections? Are they on Twitter? What do they tweet about? and it doesn't mean I'm going to engage on Twitter, but often you get, oh look, they always share these people's content, and perhaps, for example, being the Sherlock, oh, they're sharing content from people that I know. I could comment on that content on Twitter, right? I could legitimately, authentically add insight or add a link to something they've shared on to say, here's someone out, oh, I see you're following Dave in that content, there's some more over here, I've added some value, they have spotted me in a positive manner. What I don't then do though is go, by the way, can I sell to you? My perfect world is that that individual reaches to me, either follows me, sends me a connection invite, or in some way engages back in that conversation. Again, you don't immediately say, great, thank you for opening the door, now I'll sell to you. It is building rapport to the point where, do you know what, if I ask you a question, we'll reach out and go, Lee, we've engaged a lot. Well, we would be open to a chat with you, a coffee chat, just to compare notes and what. Yeah. Where it becomes natural that they're going to do it. You know they're going to say yes. Therefore, you get the conversation.
Yeah, and I guess it's important to make the distinction here between B2B and B2C, right? So it's far more realistic to expect more direct messaging
Absolutely.
to come on in a B2C environment, right? Because all you basically want to do is punt your product out there and get people to buy it online, or so that is absolute. I don't know you, but here's our product. Do you want to buy it, and connect with as many people as possible? But that's not the way we as people within business do business, right? It's not B2C. I'm not just going to go, oh, hi, Ian, can you connect with me? Click here to buy our product. That's not the way it works. There's far more involvement. We are spending somebody else's money and not our own, first of all, and we're far more reluctant to hand it over. We're held accountable to profit margins and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, much different. And so I have to think about things like, what would I do if I was starting my business today? What are your thoughts on that? Because going back sort of 20, 30 years, thinking back to the tech and everything that was available at the time, very, very, very little, I suppose, and it was literally all just phone calls, and you would get a phone book out and ring a load of people and arrange to go and see them, or you get in your car and drive around industrial estates and all that kind of stuff. So is it fair to say that you would maybe think differently if you were starting a business today? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I've challenged existing businesses when they're trying to digitally transform, right? And what they've got the harder job because they've got legacy, not because they made mistakes, but because they chose, whether it be systems or processes were put in place at the time, they were right based on the world we lived in. This is what we're going through now, is disrupting a lot of businesses to think differently. How many businesses would ever have envisaged having their contact center working remotely? How many would have envisaged, many would have said, oh yeah, our sales team, we have remote workers, and salespeople are used to working from a coffee shop, whatever, but not the whole of the back office business. So that's so the world's changed even for salespeople. Of the support ecosystem in your business for a sales individual is the whole company. And you may be all right that you're familiar with this and it doesn't feel that different, but all the other people in your business that support you in engaging with your customer pre and post purchase, their lives and their processes and often their systems have been disrupted wasn't designed to work that way. So when I challenge people who are going through transformation, I say, get a whiteboard and, to your point, design on there what you would do if you were all leaving and forming a competitor today. What would you do? And you often get then someone say,
interesting,
yeah, but we couldn't change this because of it. No, everything's gone. You're starting from scratch. Do the panacea with what you know from your experience and what you know is available now. How would you do it today? And then for those companies, it's how do you, there's the panacea solution if you built it today. There's where you're at. How do you get from A to Z? And what are the easier steps? And some of them will be hard, right? When you then introduce back in where you are, some of them are going to be far harder than others, because whether it's legislation, whether it's particular systems that have to be integrated in the supply chain, so you can't just switch, etc. For a new business, it's what I would suggest is you have to look outside in. Who is your customer? What is your ideal customer persona? How do they behave? And how do they want to engage and buy?
Right.
Because there's no one answer for everyone, right? You mentioned B2C and B2B. There's product and service. There's low value sale and a higher value sale where people think about it more. And then whichever market you're in, what's the dynamic? Are you selling regionally? Are you a local business, to your point, where your customers are local? In which case you don't care about marketing on the internet to a global audience. You want to focus on, how do I attract within pick a number, 30-mile radius? Your Domino's Pizza franchise opening up in Camberley does not want to market in any way, get an audience that's in Glasgow, because they ain't going to buy. So it's understanding who is your target focus audience in every way, right? In demographic, in age, in persona, in geographic area. Okay, and now for what we do, what is the way that they would most likely want to engage and service that channel well? Again, I see too many businesses going this omni-channel and saying they're on every social platform, right? We all say it's the vanity thing. I've got every logo on there, 9 different social platforms, but if you dare tweet them and ask a question, you will never hear back, because they've spread themselves so incredibly thinly. Why not just identify your profile persona is 90% going to be on Facebook? Great.
Yeah.
So do Facebook incredibly well and don't worry about the others.
Yeah. Interesting point. The other thing that I'm conscious of, and I've had conversations with people, and I hear it, is that the resistance to change, for implementing tech, is for fear that they're going to do themselves out of a job. And I can understand that. I can respect it. That is a legitimate fear. If I implement this bit of tech that I'm recommending, then that's taking away a big portion of my job. But I think the way I look at it is, if you can prove what else you could be doing for the business and using that freed up time, because that's effectively what you're doing by implementing the tech. Hopefully you're freeing up time that you're spending doing something. You can offer more value to the business. So by doing a quick analysis of, what am I doing that I like doing, what am I doing that I don't like doing that we can get automated, and then more importantly, what do I want to be doing? What could I be doing for the business excuse me, to help it evolve and develop and become more efficient, effective, productive, whatever that may be. I mean, that shows for me far more in an individual that has the confidence to say, hey, Lee, I think our business, Connecting Business, could be doing this process more efficient using this bit of tech. Yes, it means it's going to take that role away from me, but here's all the stuff I want to be doing that I think we could then potentially monetize and sell as an additional product or a service. Now I'm massively interested in that individual.
Yeah, but Lee, don't you think that's changed during this COVID period, right? Because that's a gain objective, right? It's how could we be better? How can we serve the customer better? How can we improve, be more efficient, etc. And what I've seen a lot of, because of what's happened, is people are, and we see it in the news, we see companies are in distress or are potentially heading that way. What they're looking for is to solve pain. And it's a very different buying process. It's what I've seen is people who would have perhaps been reticent about cloud and, well, we're not sure about this doing it that way and changing this platform, are being driven because of pain to change, because of necessity rather than foresight.
Yeah, I'm sure there is an element of that, and I think that's what comes back to people that pre-C19 were prepared, for want of a better phrase, not necessarily for this specific scenario, but they weren't constantly staying in the now. They were looking at their historicals, understanding it, learning how they could get better, be more efficient, pivot the business, making sure that if certain things happened, they could switch to this way, that way, etc. So there's that element. You know, keep doing what you always did. You keep getting what you always got. People that are very reluctant to change probably have struggled more so. But also on a human level, you know, I think this has probably put significant stress and pressure on business leaders at that kind of level, on an emotional engagement level with their employees, because this is unlike any scenario that the world has come up against. And I think those business leaders who perhaps weren't emotionally connected to their employees or respected it and had things in place to support their employees, probably either failed and the business failed, or they had to scramble around to get this kind of things in place to support their employees.
Yeah, and I think that phrase, I'm going to challenge the phrase you said, and I get why you said it, but always do what you always did and get what you always got. I don't think that mantra works anymore, right? Because keep doing what you did. The world's changed. The buyer is continually changing. The environment we all live in has changed. So if you were happy with what you were getting, so let's keep doing what we were doing. We're happy with it. You may not still get the same, right? Because you may be disrupted. Because your service is, you can't service customers in the same way, you can't behave in the same way, and you are now not in the position you were even 6 months ago. You're having to behave differently, and to your point, pivot into how do we serve customers in a different way in uncontrollables. These aren't, you know, there's things happening. Lockdown affects a lot of businesses, and there's not, you can't operate. You've got to operate within those rules. It's not something where it's a seasonal thing in the market, or a little bit of a recessive period, or a competitor's come out with something. How do you to your point, how do you handle this? And I
Yeah.
think that's a hard one, because there isn't a cookie cutter answer of, well, just do this then. And you may have to change dramatically through no fault of your own to sustain your business.
Yeah. And that junction leads me in somewhat to my book recommendation for this episode. It's called On Form by Jim Lower and Tony Schwartz. For those that are watching the video, there we go. The managing energy, not time, is the key to high performance, health, and happiness. And the key, one of the key bits that I reference here is that in order to grow and develop, we have to stretch and stress ourselves. But the critical bit is then recovery time. So you can't keep stretching and stressing yourself at max capacity and expect to keep delivering and keep stressing, and remembering and learning and all that kind of stuff. So the analogy it uses is when you're working out in the gym, lifting weights, you would lift heavy weights to exhaustion, and then you have to have a rest day. You have to not train again that day, give your muscles time to recover, and at which point you come back and you can lift more the next day. You get stronger and stronger as time goes on. But if you were in the gym 24 hours a day, your body would break if you were lifting weights constantly. So the body and the mind needs those breaks in order to recover, in order for you to then be able to use those new skills and tools and come back stronger. So that's my book recommendation. How about you?
I think a good point for COVID, right? Take some of the leave that you've got, take some time off, because I know you can't go anywhere particularly, but it's that downtime. Yeah. Book wise, there's two that I champ on about because they're very readable, not rocket science, a little bit of what we spoke about. So Social Selling by Tim Hughes, and a book called Known by Mark Schaefer. We didn't get onto the personal brand piece, but right now during COVID, I've spoken on a number of things. sessions where I've spoken about, many people are in an unfortunate position of looking for a job or in furlough and have that risk. A lot of differential you can get in a very competitive job market, particularly mostly in B2B, right, to be frank, but is how you look online, is the first digital impression you make. And those two books for sellers out there or anyone interested in how do I make more sat at my keyboard that I can do in front of the TV, easy to read, and how do I improve myself, Social Selling, Tim Hughes, and Known by Mark Schaefer.
Fantastic. Ian, thank you. I guess in summary, you and I are big advocates of not sticking with what we've got. It's constantly pivoting. As long as we're taking time to understand it, recover, understanding our employees, understanding the environment has changed. Critical part is understanding your customer, and not just what you think your customer is and what your customer persona is and their buying habits and all the rest of it. It's all right, the data telling you one thing, but have you actually spoken to customers on the phone or face-to-face via Zoom and or that sort of thing to understand what their habits are and why they do what they do? So there's some critical things there, and of course understanding your tech stack and how you use it to be most effective in making those connections and engagements.
I agree. Yeah, speak to people, particularly now. People want to, you're speaking to them in a personal environment, and people want those conversations.
Yeah, fantastic. Ian, appreciate your time as always. Big fan of your work. Always keen eye on LinkedIn and the other social platforms for the posts that you share. Yeah, I highly recommend people go to LinkedIn, connect with Ian Moyse, reach out to him if you think you can make use of their telephony platform, or you want some guidance, help with regards to social selling and training. So Ian, appreciate your time. Thanks very much, my friend. And yeah, look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Keep safe. Thanks, Lee. Bye.